This is Talking Football with Two Ball Guys. I'm Adam.
I'm Tony.
Tony, I don't love to play that song, but that is the Notre Dame fight song.
It is.
The reason we're playing that is they start off the playoffs on Friday. We're taping this on a Monday. They start on Friday against their in-state rival.
Now,
Indiana.
maybe. Yeah, the Notre Dame fight song was my high school fight song, so I like it, but I'm not a huge Notre Dame fan. But yeah, playoffs start on Friday. Man, it's going to be exciting to see how things play out.
Yeah, we talked about that right before. Notre Dame was your high school fight song. Indiana was my high school fight
That's
song.
interesting.
So our high schools are playing.
Basically.
Basically. I mean, whatever you want us to call it. So
the fight songs are going to be out there. Anyway, the fight songs will be out there.
Yeah. All right. We're talking football, Two Bod Guys, part of Elevation 5280 Sports. That's E5280sports.com. We talked about this a whole bunch. Check out our pod there, and also check out the other ones that are there. A lot of good people, a lot of good stuff there. We're also partnering with Happy Nuts. We talked about this. Save 20% with us. We've had some people order some stuff lately.
Yeah.
Doing it. Get some stuff that's not too late to get Christmas, or you know what, maybe a little New Year's gift.
I mean, these gifts would be perfect white elephant gifts.
Oh,
I know some people, white elephant gifts, you can get 20% off. Two Bald, 20% off right there for your white elephant gift. Hilarious stuff, but also really good products. So my wife and I have been walking around the block lately because the weather's getting nice. She likes to walk. I don't really like to walk, but I'll go out with her because it gets darker. They don't want her walking by herself. And they have that it's like a roller type of stuff that you put for chafing. So
it's great.
It's perfect for it. I use it every night. It's fantastic.
Great. We live down here in Florida. We know all too well about some of that stuff. But anyways, go get the stuff. Save 20%. Use our code. All right, Tony. Last week we talked about the college football playoff. We debated about that stuff. But before we get into playoff, let's talk about some other. Before we get into some more picks or talk about it, let's get into some stuff that happened over the weekend. Travis Hunter won the Heisman Trophy in a fairly close ballot. Do you listen? We've talked. We've been pro Ashton Jeanty all year long.
The whole year ever since he started going.
Do you think he got robbed?
Yes, I think so. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Travis Hunter, right? I mean, you and I can both agree he's an outstanding athlete. He's a good player. I think the difference here is the level of season that Ashton Jeanty's having, on pace for Barry Sanders, stuff we haven't seen in 30 years, is so much greater than Travis Hunter playing both ways. Kind of maybe I don't want to use the word average, but like he wasn't number one in any category on receiving. And I get it. He's kind of a lockdown corner. And I think Colorado's season would not have been much different without Travis Hunter versus Boise's season without Ashton Jeanty. Would you agree with that?
I would agree. Ashton Jeanty got them, Boise State, to where they are.
Playoff. Buy in a playoff.
All right. Got a stat for you. And I'm looking this up, and I'm trying to kind of do this math in my head. Okay. The 77th leading rusher this year
77th
was Nate Noel from Missouri with 804 yards. Okay. 77th. The second leading rusher of the season was at 1660. Okay. So that is
about double.
804 to 1660. That's 856 yards between the 77th rusher and the second rusher.
Okay.
Between the second rusher, which, by the way, was Amari Hampton from North Carolina, which we're going to talk about North Carolina a little bit. He had 1,660 yards.
It's a good season.
That's a great season.
A good season.
So from 77th place to second place was 854 yards.
Where are you going with this?
From second place to first place was 837 yards.
Right. That's how ridiculous
Ashton Jeanty had 837 more yards than the second leading rusher this year.
Correct.
Hampton had a good year at 1660, and Hampton had 854 more yards than the 77th rusher this year.
So you're saying that Ashton Jeanty had a pretty good season.
There were 75 spots.
That's insane.
75 spots that were closer in yards
to the number two guy.
Than the number two guy was the number one guy.
That's the kind of season he had. Like if this is a popularity contest, like, okay, Travis Hunter, you're the popular guy. Dion pushes for you. I get that. But
he had Little Wayne.
Right.
At the Heisman. Okay.
Exactly. So if that's this contest, fine. Just tell us that's what it's about.
Now,
but
people are going to be like, well, okay, he had 63 more carries. He did. He had 63 more carries in Hampton. But he averaged 1.4 yards more per carry than Hampton did.
Exactly.
So you can't say it was all because of attempts.
And if you look at Travis Hunter's numbers offensively as a wide receiver, he was fifth, sixth, seventh, and a
He was
lot of
okay.
those numbers. The Nash guy from San Jose State, there's this Nash guy who was first in like 3 different categories, not even a visit to the Heisman. So it's not about numbers then, apparently. Apparently it's not about numbers.
Travis Hunter was 6th in receiving this year, 6th with 1,152 yards. Nick Nash, a guy from San Jose State, was at 1,382. And he averaged 13.3 a catch. Travis Hunter was at 12.5 per catch.
Yeah.
The guy right above him, Eric Rivers from FIU, was 18.9 per catch, which obviously some of these guys, San Jose State, Bowling Green, they're not.
The schedule is probably not as difficult.
But the thing is, okay, you don't want to give Nick Nash a Heisman
not even
vote or anything like that, which
nothing.
he wasn't even in the top 10. Some of these guys, it's fine because he's at San Jose State. I get it. They weren't great. But how does that guy not win the Biletnikoff?
Give him something. Right. How is he not winning something?
He's got the most yards. He's got the most touchdowns. And
yards per catch?
And he's got the most receptions.
Receptions, yeah.
No, he's not the most.
No, he's
most receptions, most yards, most touchdowns. I think that's the Triple Crown.
It is a Triple Crown.
Of receiving.
Give that guy some love.
And he didn't win the Biletnikoff. Travis Hunter did. Listen, Travis Hunter is a great receiver. He's also a very good defensive back, 100%. But he's not the best receiver, and he wasn't the best defensive back. Now, to do both of those at a very high level, it is very, very good. I'm not saying he's not good. He's not good. But I'm telling you right now, and people are making comparisons to him, if you had to choose between Charles Woodson in his prime or Travis Hunter, who you take?
Charles Woodson.
Yeah, 100%. Charles Woodson was better because people were like, well, he was also a defensive guy in the special teams. I get that. But like as a defensive back, Charles Woodson was much better.
Way better.
Travis Hunter is very good. But Charles Woodson was better.
Oh, for 100%. I don't even think
because that's the comparison.
I don't think there's a comparison. I don't think there is a comparison.
Right.
Travis Hunter's better offensively, but defensively is not even close. And how important are you to your team? Isn't that a factor on this? Because Ashton Jeanty, literally, no pun intended, carried Boise State to a first-round bye in the playoffs. He had 192 yards against the number 1 team in the country.
Right.
Come on now. And I don't think Colorado's record is much different without Travis Hunter. Take Travis Hunter out of it, Colorado's probably similar because he didn't affect the game that much, did he? He is.
He is good, and he does bring a big, to him. But Colorado, with him,
lost to Nebraska. That's a bad loss.
And just got. I'm trying to find Colorado's schedule.
That loss to Nebraska hurts a lot. I don't think he did anything against that Nebraska defense, which Indiana just absolutely torched. So
I'm trying to.
I want to see
Colorado here in a second.
I want to see what Jeanty does because he's going to obviously have to play a pretty tough game in the playoffs. But I don't think there's a lot of teams out there that he would do any worse with. I think if you put Travis Hunter in the SEC, maybe he doesn't do quite as well. I don't know.
Colorado went 9-3, but they got shut down. Well, they lost to Kansas State, and they got shut down by Nebraska.
Nebraska shut them down,
and
which is
trying to see.
I was furious about, but 10 points is all you had in that game.
Travis Hunter did go 10 for 120 against Nebraska, but no touchdowns.
There's nothing wrong with Travis Hunter. Don't get me wrong.
He's a good.
Take him off Colorado. They're about the same that they were, and take Jeanty off Boise State. Boise State goes 500, maybe.
I think so. I really do.
I think that has to be a factor.
I think it does, and and you're talking about a team that made the playoffs. It was not like a team that
correct.
Like
San Jose State
without them, they were 3-7, and with them, they were 7-3.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying, or whatever.
No.
They flipped the record. Like they were, lost one game, almost beat Oregon. Like Oregon kicked the last second field goal to beat Boise State at the end of that game.
Right.
And they made the playoffs, and they have a legitimate shot. Like they play. I forget who they got to play first. I think it's Penn State or SMU.
Well, it's Penn State or SMU.
SMU. Yeah. But you think that when Penn State wins, Penn State's got to be like, okay, Boise as a whole, we should be okay. But do you think they want to face Jeanty?
No, I don't want to deal with that. Nobody wants to deal with that running game.
No.
I don't know what else Boise has, but they have that guy. And the running game.
And he gives them a shot.
Every time. Whether or not, bad weather, warm weather, the run game can travel if you can run the football.
Right.
So, and he does not go down on first contact. That guy is
dude.
Insane.
I think he had almost more yards than everybody else did after contact.
Yards after contact. Yes.
You take his yards after contact.
Just yards after contact.
And I think he would have been one of the top running backs, period.
We are seeing a season that hasn't happened since Barry Sanders in like 88. That's a long time. There's people listening to this that weren't even born then.
You were like out of college.
Oh, here we go. Not quite. I was 10, but yeah, I think that Ashton Jeanty's season is just far superior to what he did for his team, and the numbers definitely got robbed.
I mean, you think about it. Now, yes, I get it was the second game of the year, but Boise State with Ginty threw up 34 points against Oregon.
192 yards rushing. What do you average?
Penn State put up 37 points against Oregon.
Correct.
So it's not like it was that big of a difference.
No.
You know, Ohio State put up 31. So Boise State scored more points than Ohio State did. Now, granted, I understand it's 3 points. I get it. But they scored the same amount of points as Ohio State and Penn State did against Oregon.
Yep. I mean, that's kind of the bar, what you're looking at there. The number one team, undefeated.
Yeah.
And you got him going for 192. So he did what he had to do. Like, I don't understand.
I think he should have won.
I mean, he probably was going to win the Doak Walker and all that.
He has to win those. But like, and again, we're taking nothing away from what Travis Hunter did. He was very, very good. I just think Ginty should have won it.
It's a different it's a different type of season.
Right.
It's not that he's just the best running back. He's best by 800 and some yards, but he's doing something we haven't seen in 30 years.
Right.
Like, it's crazy.
Or pretty much ever.
Ever, right.
I mean, if he beats Barry Sanders, he'd be the first, he's the leading rusher in the season.
The greatest rushing season of all time, right?
Yes.
Like, come on now. And I heard since 2000, only 5 players have won the Heisman that are not quarterbacks. So I like that part of it because I like we had 2 guys that could have won it that weren't quarterbacks because it was a quarterback award for a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here trying to think of all the people that won it that weren't quarterbacks, and Reggie Bush is the only one that comes.
Well, and Derrick Henry,
and Mark Ingram. So there's
from
3.
Alabama.
There's 3 right there.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the wide receiver from
Alabama, Devontae Smith, I think.
Devontae Smith. So there's 4 right there. So okay, we almost
3 of them from Alabama.
Cool. Right, shocking.
All right, let's get into some of this coaching madness, and we're going to get into the big hire in a minute. But I want to get to this one. So Marshall goes and wins. I know Marshall. Marshall's out of West Virginia, Thundering Herd. Probably most famous, unfortunately, for the plane crash a long time ago in the movie, which is a horrible thing to be remembered by. But they built back, and they've had really good teams, and I think Byron Leftwich went there and stuff like that. So they've had really good teams, and people don't talk about it a lot, but they've had really good teams. Anyways, so they have this coach, and he led them to the Conference USA championship. I think it's in the Conference USA. But for whatever reason, the school didn't want to extend his contract. I don't know. So the day after he won the championship, he went to Southern Miss. And then I heard the entire Marshall football team
went with him,
entered the portal.
Every single one.
I heard it was every single one, but then I've seen conflicting reports where it's maybe just like 34 of them. But still. So
half your team?
So much so that they had to bow out of their bowl game and Louisiana Tech's taking their place.
Because they don't have enough players.
They don't have enough players.
What is something's missing? What are we missing?
But I mean, this guy didn't do anything wrong.
That's what I'm wondering. What are we missing?
It seems like he hasn't done anything wrong. And the whole team. So we talk about a lot of guys from James Madison went with Kirk Cignetti to Indiana, and now is this guy going to bring? Southern Miss been bad. Like Southern Miss, Golden Eagles, probably best known for Brett Favre stealing money and dumping it into their volleyball team. Yeah. Southern Miss might be good pretty quick. I'm not talking about national level good.
No, but compared to what they have been. But I kind of like that. Like the players show, loyalty to a coach that they really like, and that shows you something about that coach.
Right.
So you and I are both coaches. So I'd be, as a coach, you got to be like, okay, I must be doing something right if all these players are following me around. That's pretty awesome. That's awesome. I don't know what's going on with the school. They don't have any money. Like, what's going on?
I don't know. But speaking of the transfer portal then too,
let's get a little crazy.
Do you think, and I understand why they do it, but it's absolutely insane why the transfer portal opens right now.
Why?
Well, I know
Correct.
why. It's because of the semesters.
Well,
and they want people to be able to go to the new school at semester.
Fair enough.
I get that. But now you got guys like the Penn State backup quarterback. See you later. They're still playing in meaningful games.
Yeah,
we're not even talking about like Michigan playing against Bama in the ReliaQuest Bowl or whatever, the Pop-Tart Bowl that Miami's playing in. They're in the playoffs. I'm talking about playoffs. And he's gone. There's another guy for SMU, I think, that is like, I'm leaving, but not yet.
Correct.
I'm going to play.
Correct. Right.
What?
Yeah, so if you're leaving, why would you say anything, I guess? Maybe to open yourself up to other teams. But yeah, the backup for Penn State, and I had a conversation with our buddy who I still work with.
Yeah.
He was like, this guy's been seeing some playing time this year, and like Drew Aller did say he's staying another year. But if something happens to Aller, and he gets hurt.
What in the game?
You gotta,
Well, they're going to put in that like tight end that lines up behind him,
right, and run the Wildcat or whatever. But what are you doing? You don't want to have the opportunity to win a national championship. That's what confuses me. Are these kids so caught up in just like I got to get somewhere else so I can play? You might have a chance to win a national title.
Yeah,
like
right.
Is Penn State my pick? No, but gosh, you never know. They are good enough.
They're good enough, and their draw is good. It's like we talked about. They play SMU and they play Boise State. Can they win that? Yes. Yeah. And actually, I'm telling you, like Penn State didn't Penn State any games really this year.
Really.
Now they lost to Ohio State and questionable calling, but they didn't screw that one up, and they didn't really screw the game up against Oregon. Oregon, I think, was just a little bit better.
Yeah.
But could they beat Oregon? I think they could. I don't think they like screwed the game up. Like
usually James Franklin makes his bonehead decision. You're like
does stuff why they can't beat Ohio State and Michigan. But the thing is, they're avoiding both of those teams.
Correct.
They would only have to beat one of those teams because Ohio State would have to play Oregon in the second round.
Right.
So Penn State has as good of a chance. Like I don't.
And you leave.
What team in their side? So they have SMU, and then they have. Boise State, and then Georgia and
Notre
Dame and Indiana. Yeah. They could beat all those teams.
Yeah,
they could beat all those teams. And Indiana's in there. They could beat all those teams.
That'll get them into the. I mean, you're looking at a potential national championship run, and you're just too busy trying to find another school that you're going to get out there. And this guy apparently has been getting some playing time this year.
The amount of people that are in the portal is absolutely insane.
USC quarterback Miller Moss, he's in the portal.
Well, he already signed. I think he signed with not Nebraska, Louisville.
Jackson Arnold from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
He's out.
Are you sad he's
going?
You
know where he's going?
No.
Auburn.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
Oh, that's right. He's going to your favorite team. You're the same favorite team.
I knew you were going to say it. Yeah, Jackson Arnold's going to Auburn. Like, come on.
Michigan's losing two quarterbacks. Now, if you
Orgy's leaving.
Yeah, right? If you watch Michigan play this year, losing a quarterback's not a problem.
I was going to say, yeah.
And the other guy was his Denegral guy. It's fun. But
you got Davis Long coming back. Edwards not playing in the bowl.
He's not playing in the bowl.
But Mullins has been your guy.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest.
And somebody goes, wait a minute. Should Edwards have played? Because he needs a good game. Like somebody's going to take a chance on Edwards.
Right.
Because he's got explosive speed. But honestly, if I'm taking Edwards, I'm exploring the option of putting him like in a slot back or something like that.
Right.
You know, making him receiver because he's got great hands. He if you can get him in space, oh my God.
Yeah, he's fast. Super fast.
But I really like Edwards. He stayed. He did everything right. He never complained once.
He was huge last year.
And like, I mean, when last year when Corum got all those touchdowns and he got the carries, you never heard one time Edwards complaining.
Nope.
Not once. I have nothing bad to say about Edwards.
He broke a big one against Bama, didn't he?
I wish he would have had a better game this year and all that stuff, but I am not going to say a bad word about Edwards. And if those people are saying bad words about Edwards, need to get out of here. They're not real fans.
You don't watch Michigan
They're not
football
real fans.
I
don't care. Did he play as well as we thought he for his whole career? No. But he came up with some huge plays against Ohio State and Washington.
That play against Bama, was it Bama last year that he had the big run, or was it Washington?
It's Washington.
Okay.
Two of them. His first two touches, and he had the two big runs against Ohio State. Right. Like just
yeah.
And he threw a dime of a touchdown pass in the first Big Ten championship game against Iowa. I was at that game. It was awesome.
Yeah, no, Donovan Edwards, great career at Michigan. You got a national title. You know, good luck, man.
Yeah, good luck. And I, you know, if I'm one of those guys and he's available late in the 6th, 7th round, I'm taking him.
Running backs are almost a dime a dozen.
I think
he might be a difference maker.
I don't think he gets drafted way early unless he just absolutely impresses. And somebody's going to take a flyer on him. Somebody will take a chance. I would 100%.
If I were the Raiders and he's available late, second round, maybe jump on him because the Raiders have nobody.
Yeah. What?
No, they don't.
They have Brock Bowers.
They have Brock Bowers. That's it. Get a quarterback first round Raiders and then pick up Edwards as a running back.
So we'll get into.
We can talk about that.
We'll get in a minute. All right. The big news outside of the college football playoff in college football is Bill Belichick getting hired by North Carolina.
Is he just bored?
This comes so far out of left field, but I started to think about this, and it makes a little bit of sense. Saban got out of college football because he was tired of the NIL transfer portal and all that stuff. Yep. I think, though, it makes a little bit of sense going the opposite direction because Bill Belichick's used to free agency,
right?
And
player,
all that stuff. Yeah, think about it.
That's true.
And at the same time, he wanted to be GM of a team again, and the Falcons weren't going to give it to him. That's why they
didn't hire him. Working. Yeah.
What is he basically at North Carolina?
He's going to run the show.
He's the GM of the team.
So I find it interesting that North Carolina hires Mack Brown, who at the time was fairly old. Now they're just going older.
Well, no, Mack Brown was 73.
Oh, was he older than Belichick?
Sorry,
he is
Belichick
now.
72.
When he hired him, yeah.
I think it's 73 and 72.
I mean, Bill Belichick, can he relate to these youngsters?
That's the thing. But since
He's getting them at 22, 23 in the NFL.
Since he didn't get the job, though, we've seen him in commercials, and we've seen him be a little bit more loquacious. That's a big word.
No, on Monday Night Football, him and Peyton Manning are really good.
Yeah.
Like, if you've watched that at all, he and Peyton Manning go
Yeah.
back and forth and breaking down plays. And Bill Belichick, X's and O's guy, forget about
yeah.
Like, there's not a whole lot of people better. Recruiting, like the other things that go along with the college culture and stuff like that. It'll be interesting to see.
Somebody did say, though, would you like it, let's say, if you had a son, or would Autumn like it if you had a son and Bill Belichick came in and said, I'm going to take care of your son, but yet, oh, sorry, I'm dating a 23-year-old?
Yeah, that's tough. His girlfriend's she's college age or just out of college.
I mean, at least she's going to keep him in with the in crowd, I guess.
Well, she could help maybe. She could help keep him up to date on some of the trends and things like that. But that'll be what's interesting because X's and O's, like, forget about it. Bill's going to have it. Now, is he going to get the talent there that he wants? That's
I think, but people were coming to Alabama because of Nick Saban, right? When Nick Saban was there, people came to Alabama because of Nick Saban. Are people going to come to North Carolina because of Bill Belichick?
I think so.
I think they will.
Defensively.
But listen, if you want to make the pros, if you want to make the NFL, that's why they went to Saban.
Yep.
Belichick knows better than anybody.
Correct.
You're going to go there. I would.
He coached with one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
Correct.
He coached with Bill Parcells back at the Giants. He was
the
defensive coordinator. They had pretty good success. Like, Belichick, if you want to go to the NFL and you're a defensive player for sure, who better to go learn from? Like, there's not a whole lot of guys.
And you got to think that he's going to be able to bring in some coaches with him, right? Like, is Josh
true.
McDaniels going to be the new offensive coordinator there? Is Matt Patricia going to come back and put a backward hat on and be?
That could be interesting. That'll be interesting.
I think. But then I was listening to the radio show. What's success for Bill Belichick in North Carolina?
Bowl game
right away,
or right away, or do you play? I
think next year, theoretically, I think success could be the ACC title game.
That would be successful, no doubt. But I think he's going to need a year to two to recruit.
I think so. But with the whole,
I don't know who they got there.
Yeah, I don't either.
Transfer portal though. Who knows? You bring in one guy like Miami with Cam Ward, you're winning right away.
And he could bring in a quarterback too. Oh wait a minute, you want to? You coached Tom Brady,
right?
True. Yeah, I want to come there. Yeah. You're going to tell me that there's not transfer portal quarterbacks right now to be like North Carolina's down on the top of my list.
True. Oh no, there's going to be we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
But maybe after the playoffs, we can see that transfer portal open up for Bill Belichick. But I mean, the run pass option, the RPO stuff, it'll be interesting to see how he defends that because he doesn't have to deal with that in the NFL. But Bill Belichick's not a dumb guy. He's not taking that job if he doesn't think he can win.
This guy is staying where the school that he's at, but it would be hilarious if Bill Belichick called up Arch Manning.
Wow.
He's not. Wow. No. Arch Manning said he's staying at Texas because Ewers said he's leaving, even though Ewers got supposedly an offer from a Big Ten school. I heard rumors of Michigan State.
Oh, why?
But then,
why would you go there?
I don't know. That's exactly what. Yeah. I thought it'd be like Oregon throwing some money because that's what Oregon does right now. Is just throw money and grab up.
Dylan Gabriel's finally got to get
Bo Nix. Well, we thought so, but then we looked at it the other day. What was it? Who was it? Cam Rising. They literally
still eligible.
He went. His first year in college was his first year that Trevor Lawrence was in college.
Oh my!
Seriously, Trevor Lawrence is almost washed up now in the NFL.
he's had too many years. He's ready to retire in the NFL.
Like people are like, is he even good in the NFL?
Oh, the transfer portal and the red shirts and all COVID years and got these guys staying in college for 8 years. He's going to be a doctor coming out of there.
There's lots of people that go to school for 10 years. They're called doctors.
And Cam Rising.
All right. So last week we talked the first round games in the college football playoff. Notre Dame, Indiana play.
We didn't really break it down though.
Okay, so Notre Dame plays Indiana at Notre Dame. It's a night game, Friday night. All right, we talked about this. I think Riley Leonard has played a lot better than I ever thought he was going to for Notre Dame. Hartman was the quarterback at Notre Dame last year that came from Wake Forest, and he struggled.
Yeah.
And some people are starting to wonder, was Marcus Freeman the right guy in Notre Dame? I think this year he's kind of proved it, and they've played really well. And I do think they have a really good shot at going, away.
They can make a run.
Who has Notre Dame really beat this year?
Well, Texas A&M first game of the year, and Texas A&M then went and had a pretty decent season.
Yeah.
They kind of fell off there toward the end, but Notre Dame beat them early, and we thought, okay, is Notre Dame good or is Texas A&M not very good? Then when Notre Dame fooled around and lost to Northern Illinois, we're like, okay, nobody's really that good. But other than that, they had Purdue, who's bad. Miami of Ohio, not good. Louisville, who had their ups and downs, Notre Dame barely beat them. Stanford, bad. They did beat on Georgia Tech, which might be one of their better
What was the score of
wins.
that game?
31-13.
Yep. Okay.
So that looks like a better win. At the time, maybe not, but now it does because
Right.
Georgia Tech
Right.
obviously
Right.
played
Right. Right.
close with Georgia and beat Miami. Navy, who, by the way, just beat Army fairly handily, which we didn't see coming at all.
No, we didn't see coming.
Notre Dame handled Navy pretty well. And then they beat Florida State, who's awful. Virginia, they beat Army. USC was kind of close. So has their schedule been that tough?
No.
Not really.
No. I mean,
not really.
Listen, Texas Tech and Georgia Tech. Texas A&M and Georgia Tech.
Those are their key wins.
Decent. And Georgia Tech beat Miami, almost beat Georgia. Okay, I will give that a good win. Texas A&M, I'm not completely sold on Texas A&M, but
Not
we'll
after
give
the way
them a
they-
good win because of what. But okay,
the way they play.
Florida State is bad,
Yeah. awful.
and Navy and Army, I think they're pretty good, but at the same time, we talked about they weren't great matchups for Notre Dame.
No.
And then some of these other teams, I mean, USC was not a good USC team,
Not really.
and Florida State was awful. I don't know if I mentioned them. They're awful.
I mean, then they had
So-
Purdue awful.
Yes, they played really well, but at the same time, Indiana could be the best team they play all year so far.
Maybe. I just don't know how they match up with Notre Dame. I think we talked about this a little bit last week. I feel like this Ohio State, Indiana 2.0. That's
Yeah.
kind of how I feel
Yeah.
because Notre Dame's defense, even though they haven't played a lot of tough teams, is pretty darn good. And Indiana struggled a lot against Ohio State. Game time weather, 27 degrees, so cold. So when you get hit, it hurts.
And Notre
Doesn't
Dame
look like
runs
it's
a
gonna be-
better. Notre Dame runs the ball better.
Runs the
than
ball a little
Indiana.
better.
And I
But
think Indiana needs their passing attack.
Indiana's rush defense, I'll give them this, is really good.
Yeah,
Their rush defense is really good. I don't think Ohio State, I'd have to look at the stats. I don't think Ohio State did a lot running the ball with Judkins and Henderson against that Indiana defense. I think the wide receivers were a bit too much for Indiana to handle. So
Notre
Indiana can
Notre
say-
Dame's a 7.5-point favorite. Listen, I think Notre Dame's going to win. I don't, I think like we talked about. I like the Indiana story that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, you like that kind of stuff.
I do. I think Notre Dame pulls away late and they cover.
I think they cover as well. And last week I was like, this is Ohio State 2.0. Notre Dame's going to blow them out. But kind of what I just said, Notre Dame runs the football, but Indiana's strength on defense is to stop the run. And I don't know, this is going to make Riley Leonard have to throw the ball a little bit more. And as much as I think Indiana is not as good as we think they are, you think they are, I think they keep it closer for sure.
Okay. The first two games on Saturday are on TNT. I didn't know TNT.
Yes, that
First of all,
was a surprise to
showed
me
football
too.
games,
No,
period.
they usually have basketball or something.
And then picked up these. But anyways, they obviously paid a lot of money to do this. We talked about this, SMU and Penn State. Penn State's 8.5-point favorite. Listen, Penn State's offense has been a lot better than I thought they were going to at the beginning of the year. You know, they were kind of struggling. I don't want to say struggling, but they were slow starters.
They were
like that.
slow starting.
SMU showed that they can come back against Clemson, but I don't think Clemson's defense is as good as Penn State's. I know Penn State gave up a ton of points to Oregon, but
Everyone does.
everyone does.
Everyone
So
does.
I think Penn State wins this game, but don't be surprised if in the second half SMU's within a score.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised in the first half of SMU's winning this thing.
Yeah.
Because that's what Penn State seems to do is, hey, I don't know if it's coaching or what they have going on, but they seem to play vanilla football.
Mhm.
The other team scores a little bit, and then all of a sudden, second half, they're just like, okay,
Yeah.
now we have to actually come
Yeah.
out and play. I think SMU can give them a run early and jump out on Penn State. It being at Penn State, I know it's a noon game and not an 8 o'clock game, which I think would make a big difference. Still, home field advantage is going to be a little bit of a factor in this. I don't think weather's going to be a factor at all. I don't know what the weather is up there. 28 degrees. So it's cold. It's still cold. But SMU, don't be surprised if they jump out early, but Penn State's going to win this.
It's really going to depend, and I was very impressed. It's this tight end for Penn State, Tyler Warren.
Yeah,
He's got 88 catches for 1,062 yards. When I watched him play Purdue in live, he lines up behind. He's thrown a couple passes.
Isn't he like 6'6" or
He's
something
3
like
for
that?
5 on passes with a touchdown pass.
I think he's a monster.
He's got 191 yards rushing. I think half of those were against Purdue. 4 touchdowns. Like, this guy's good.
Do you have him up there? Isn't he like 6'6"? Like 240? Like, I think he's a big dude.
He is a big dude. He is 6'6", 257.
Dude.
He's-
That's a big boy.
He's from Mechanicsville, Virginia.
Virginia.
I don't know where that's at, but it just sounds like a
Mechanicsville.
that
Just
a
hard
bunch
working.
of blue
blue
collar
collar, yeah.
people.
Yeah. Mechanicsville.
Mechanicsville. I think he's pretty good. He actually got votes for the Heisman.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he did. He was in the top 10.
Well, I don't know who else Penn State throws the ball to.
They
don't
nobody.
have a lot of game-breaking wide
They
receivers.
don't. It's him. It's him, and mostly him. And they do a lot of short out stuff, and he's a load to take down. I like Penn State in that game. I think Penn State wins.
Yeah,
I like the SMU story also. First time in the ACC and getting to the championship game. But
yeah, I like that.
And I also like the fact that they kept Alabama out of it.
Correct. That does help a lot too. And I think that's what you need SMU to make this game really competitive, so the Bama fans don't be like, "Well, we would have been, we could have done better than that." Blah blah blah. I don't want to hear that stuff anymore. So don't lose 3 times.
Correct.
And don't lose to Vandy and Oklahoma.
Correct.
Okay.
It's like those people last year that said Georgia would have beat Michigan. You lost to Alabama, who lost to Michigan.
Correct.
I know that property doesn't always work, but still.
It doesn't.
All right, the second game on Saturday, which is the triple header, is Clemson at Texas. You and I both took Clemson last week. Do you want to change your mind?
No. Again, Texas's schedule has not been as difficult as some others. They played Georgia twice. They got blown out by them, and then they played them close. But Texas, you still got to remember, Texas got beat by Georgia basically with the backup quarterback.
Yeah.
With Georgia's backup quarterback, who got his head knocked off,
oh my God,
got back up, and then won the game for Georgia.
Yep.
So Texas struggles with a good defense. Clemson's defense, especially that front, is really good. I just think Texas struggles again unless Arch Manning comes in. I think Arch Manning might be the better option here. Don't be surprised if Quinn Ewers struggles. They take him out.
Listen, Quinn Ewers has not been the same since the injury in the middle of the year we talked about.
No.
If you would have said at the beginning of the year, I would have said this is Texas and it's not close. But Texas, and I still thought Texas was going to beat Georgia last week, and they just, or not last week, 2 weeks ago, and they just didn't.
They can't get offense going.
I think I do. I think Clemson shocks them. I think Clemson wins.
This will be one of the better games to watch for sure.
I think so.
I think this is going to be a really good game. They got Texas by 11.5. I'm taking Clemson outright on this.
I think Clemson wins.
I mean, it's going to be close.
And
don't get me wrong.
And it could be one of them. We come back and it's 30-7.
And we'll be like, oh, okay.
Stupid. But I just think Clemson's playing better. Texas is stumbling. And I think if it's you've seen it in the couple close games that Texas had against Georgia, they can't do anything.
Their offense has not been explosive against good teams. Right. If their offense was putting up 30 points against Georgia and they lost 35-30, I might think differently. But they are struggling.
I mean, they only scored 20 points against Arkansas too, so it's not like they were blowing out teams that they should have.
Their offense has not been clicking. Clemson's good. Their defense is good enough, and the Klubnik's not bad.
All right, last game on Saturday night is Tennessee going to Ohio State. Did you see the meme that says Tennessee is going to wear their alternative uniforms against Ohio State?
No. And
it starts showing them coming in all black and stuff like that. And it gets up, they're joking, and it gets up to the top, and the helmet is a Michigan helmet.
Ah, that's hilarious. That's actually hilarious.
And I'm like, that is great.
That is funny. That is funny. Ohio State by 7. That's home field advantage.
Did you see this Tennessee guy? I don't know who it was. Had to prove that he was an Ohio State fan to buy Ohio State tickets, and he photoshopped himself into a bunch of Ohio State stuff to get tickets, and he's really a Tennessee fan, and he got a bunch of tickets.
Wow.
That is awesome. That is next level stuff. That is great. Listen, Tennessee is not going to be daunted by a big stadium because they have just as big of a stadium. And if Ohio State starts to struggle a little bit, they're gonna pucker up a little bit, I think.
Josh Heupel, go watch Michigan play Ohio State for the last 3 or 4 years, and just
in case you're wondering, it's 4 years.
Sorry, okay, 4 years,
not 3 or 4.
Go watch the tape. 4 years.
4 years.
4 years that they beat Ohio State. Don't give up the big play to Jeremiah Smith and what is it? And
I don't even
name that I can't pronounce.
They're good.
Both of those wide receivers are really good. Don't let them make big plays. Shut down Judkins and Henderson and make Howard beat you, and he can't. And then just don't turn the ball over and give him short field, and you're going to win this game.
Don't
run the ball.
Josh Heupel. Michigan gave Ohio State a short field one time. They threw a bad interception one time, and Ohio State ran 3 stupid plays, and Michigan held them to a field goal attempt, and they shanked it. Besides that, Michigan didn't make a mistake deep in there. They made Ohio State drive. And I've said this numerous times.
I've been saying this for 4 years.
They've made Ohio State drive. Ohio State is predicated on big plays.
Correct.
Big plays, and they just overwhelm you, and then you're in catch-up mode, and then they just pin their ears back. It's kind of like how the Colts used to play with Peyton Manning. Their defense had good players, but they weren't great. But when you're up 14 to 20 points every game, you can pin your ears back and go after the quarterback.
Correct.
And that's what they do. Yep. That's what Ohio State does. Very, very well.
Don't get down.
But if you can keep them from doing that, because guess what team I gave away, the Colts struggled with? The Patriots that
Patriots.
made them drive,
Yep.
that didn't give up that big play, and they could control the game.
Because Bill Belichick could scheme against it a little bit.
Michigan's done that for 4 years against Ohio State, and
And
Ohio
it
State
works.
hasn't figured it out.
It doesn't matter if Michigan is one of the best teams in the country or having a down year.
Or 6-5.
It doesn't matter.
It hasn't in the last 4 years.
They run the ball. They're physical. They make Ohio State drive down the field, and their quarterbacks, whether it's C.J. Stroud or Will Howard, cannot do it. Will Howard cannot beat you.
Keep Ohio State's offense off the field too, and Michigan did that too.
Correct.
Because we talked about that like in the last
Long
quarter.
drives.
Michigan had the ball for 12 minutes in the fourth quarter.
See, and that what makes me nervous because Hypo likes to run that little maybe faster
Right,
offense
right,
and stuff
right.
like that. But you have to know that, and I get it. Tennessee has a legit defense.
Yes,
maybe,
they do. They're
Maybe
good.
one of the best that Ohio State has seen, just as good or maybe even better than Michigan's. So, but you can't have Ohio State out on that field too much because they got guys out there. Don't get me wrong, they got dudes out there.
I mean, this
They'll
is
wear you out.
this is what Tennessee's given up this year. 3-10, 0, 15, 19 in a loss, 17, 17, 18, 14. They did give up 31 points to Georgia, but there were some 0 and 23.
That's pretty solid.
That's a good defense.
So Tennessee scores 20 points, they have a really good chance of winning.
Yeah, I think they do. I think we've talked about this. I think Tennessee wins this game.
Yes.
I just do. I think Ohio State's going to pucker up. The fans are going to get really, really nervous early because Tennessee's going to do what Michigan did,
Tennessee's going to come out.
and they have a better offense.
Correct. And they have just a good defense. Ryan Day probably can't beat you. He hasn't shown me he can outcoach somebody.
That's
Jim
true.
Harbaugh outcoaches him. Sharon Moore outcoaches him.
Yep.
Like, he gets outcoached. The only way he wins is because he's just got better dudes. Josh Heupel, you can outcoach him. Don't make mistakes. Slow the game down. Tennessee wins.
Over the last 4 years, Ohio State's beat every team they're supposed to beat,
Correct. Except for this year.
except for this year because they lost to Michigan. But they beat teams they're supposed to beat. In those 50-50 games, they're about 50-50.
Yeah, Ryan Day doesn't win the big games.
Because, I mean, really, their 50-50 games have been Penn State, which they've won. The Oregon game, they lost. Oregon game 2 years ago, they lost.
Yeah. Right.
They did win their bowl game, but then they lost their bowl game last year to Missouri, and they lost to Georgia in that 50-50 game.
Yeah.
Now, should they beat Georgia that 1 year? They probably should have, but they didn't, and they've lost those, and you could blame Ryan Day or whatever, but how do you have the dudes that he's had and not won a national
You
championship?
can't win those big
I'm not talking about this year. I'm talking about, like, you had C.J. Stroud. For
Marvin
2
Harrison
years.
Jr.
Marvin Harrison Jr. and Ibuke, or whatever his name is, and
Chris Olave
and Smith and Jigba.
and Jigba. They had dudes.
They had dudes.
Can't beat Michigan. And
Can't beat Michigan.
Can't
Makes me happy.
Has he beat Michigan once?
One time.
The
His
very
first team was
first
1
year.
and 4.
Right. He's not going to outcoach you.
No.
Right. But his dudes can beat you
They can't.
if you
Ohio State-
let them do what they want
Ohio
to do.
State is 100% good enough to win this
Oh,
whole thing.
100%.
Hold to win the whole thing.
They have
But I
guys.
think they lose to Tennessee.
I do too. I'm picking Tennessee straight up. I know it's at home. Like you said, Tennessee won't be faced.
No, they play of the top 5 stadiums. Tennessee's one of them. So, and Ohio State's up there, Michigan, all that.
Yeah, and then
Tennessee's used to playing in front of a big crowd,
plenty of
and
problems. Yeah.
trust me, the hostile crowds.
Yeah, did they play at Texas A&M, Tennessee?
They play
Bama,
at Georgia, at Arkansas, at Oklahoma, which we can say
Okay.
whatever we want about Oklahoma right now. Oh, they played at Vanderbilt and won.
Ooh, nobody
Who
does
didn't
that.
do Who didn't do
Bama.
that? Bama did not do that.
That's why you're out, Bama. Yeah, Tennessee. Vols.
All right. So we've talked a whole lot of college football. Next week, we will have those first round games, and we'll make the rest of our picks as we head into the Christmas
Bowl
couple days.
season.
But let's get into the NFL. We haven't talked about the NFL in a couple weeks because there's just been so much college football stuff to talk about. The NFL is very, very top heavy this year. I feel like there's not as many teams that are up for the playoffs this year. Like, it's almost decided already, and there's
Yeah.
like three games left, 3 or 4 games left. There was a possible Super Bowl,
Your Super Bowl.
playoff with the Bills and the Lions, and it
That's
lived
that's
up.
your ideal
and it
Super
lived
Bowl.
up to it.
Did
It
you
was
watch the game?
Part of it.
I was
yes.
watching because I had golf and fantasy, and I
It
needed
went
golf to go
absolutely
off.
insane. It was 48-42. Neither team could really stop it. Now the Lions have like nobody on defense anymore. Like they are starting like a JV team out there, and then they lost
more
David,
guys.
They lost David Montgomery too from the offense.
They lost a lot of guys.
Josh Allen is just ridiculous this year.
He's
I know
been-
Lamar
yes.
Jackson has been fantastic
no.
also.
Josh
Josh Allen's been amazing.
MVP right now
Josh Allen.
has to be
But if you told me they split it, I'd be like, okay. I mean, Lamar Jackson threw 5 touchdown passes.
Right.
But I think
Josh is running.
Josh is running, and he's been crazy. He's been really, really good. You see that shuffle, the chest pass he threw for a touchdown?
Yeah.
He's been good. I wish I would have had him in fantasy this year.
Yeah, he's the reason the Bills are where they're at. And if you look at the other guys, I mean, Lamar's carrying the Ravens too. Other than that, I'm not sure there's any other quarterbacks that I'd put in the MVP race right now. The Bills and Lions, that's your ideal Super Bowl.
Yeah, I would love that. And I mean, as fun as that game was, that'd be fun to see.
And it came down to the Bills were dominating. Boom, the Lions just crept back in, got that touchdown late, kicked the onside, and it looked like they might have had it.
I didn't see that part of it. I was cooking some Christmas cookies.
There you go. I watched the whole game because of golf, because I had fantasy playoffs, and they almost got the onside with time left to possibly go down and try to win this game. So it was a great game. A lot of scoring, a lot of points, not much defense. But you're right, that Lions defense is beat up. They are missing a ton of defense.
And that sucks. That sucks because that is a very, very good team. They're both very, very good. But that loss by the Lions pulls them, drops them back into a tie with the Eagles. The Vikings played tonight against the Bears. They also only have 2 losses. The Eagles, they were talking about some unrest in there between Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. Well, they kind of put that to bed a little bit, at least for one day against the Steelers. I know he hit Brown for 2 touchdowns, I think, and they beat the Steelers 27-13. I mean, I got to give the Steelers credit. They don't have much of anything in their 10-4, but the Eagles were just a little too much for them. Shut them out in the second half.
Listen, the Steelers, man, have such a tough schedule. The fact that they're pretty much probably going to be in the playoffs and win that division is crazy. And they go out and they battled the Eagles, who are playing really well right now.
Yeah, I mean, it was 17-13 at halftime. They just got shut out in the second half.
Just battling them. But the Eagles are playing really well. If Hurts and Brown have figured out their any issues that they have, that's a dangerous team right now.
I mean, right now there is 14 games played, so there's 3 games left for everybody. And in the AFC, the Chargers have the last playoff spot, and they're 2 games up on the Colts with 3 to play.
Probably okay.
And 2 games up on the Dolphins and Bengals, which, I mean,
Dolphins needed to win bad.
I tell you, there's already been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams in the AFC that have been eliminated. And truthfully, the Colts, Dolphins, and Bengals are really close to being eliminated. I mean, we could have all 7 playoff spots clinched next week in the AFC with 2 games to play, which is ridiculous.
That's good.
It's very, very possible.
It's good if you're in the playoffs, but if you're not, because you're gonna sit guys, you're gonna rest guys, but it's bad for the fans because you're not gonna get to see the guys that you want to play a whole lot. Like, imagine going to your first NFL game and you see second teamers out there. That would kind of suck. Right. But I understand what you're doing. You got to win games.
It's much closer in the NFC. The Seahawks are a game back of the Commanders for the last playoff spot. But the Cardinals and Falcons both have 7 losses. Falcons play tonight against the Raiders, which we have to think that's going to be a win.
For the Raiders?
Yeah.
No, I don't want
for the Falcons.
Good, because the Raiders, I love you guys, but we're losing to build for the future here.
So, but I mean, you look at that. I mean, there's only 3 teams eliminated. One of them are the Bears, because they've lost 7 in a row.
That's crazy to think about.
Yeah, it's been bad. Anyways,
I just need their defense to play well.
But I mean, to be realistic, it's at the top. Like in the AFC right now, I think the Bills and the Ravens are your favorites. I do, because the Chiefs, and then I don't know how bad Mahomes is hurt. He says hi in the spring. But I mean, do you really trust the Steelers or Texans to do anything in there?
No. I mean,
or the Broncos or Chargers. I think it comes down to the Bills and the Ravens.
It's Bills and Ravens, but if you have to go to Pittsburgh to play, that could be a factor in there. If you have to go to Kansas City to play, I don't think Patrick has lost at home in the playoffs, so that scares me. But if the Chiefs can keep winning,
no, I think they lost to the Bengals at home.
Did they lose? Okay, I just know they don't lose a lot.
They don't lose much.
Patrick doesn't lose.
They don't lose much.
But I'm not. I know they're 13-1, but I'm just not. The Chiefs have not been as impressive as 13-1. And they're just not. They beat the Browns 21-7.
I think they're the worst 13-1 team.
We've talked about this before.
They're a good team. Don't get me wrong.
I don't want to play them.
You can't be bad. You can't be bad and be 13-1.
Correct.
You can't.
Correct.
But they're not. Like right now, Bills and Chiefs played. Who would you take?
Gosh, they just played and the Chiefs won though.
No, the Bills won.
Oh, the Bills did win. Where's it at? Neutral field?
Does it matter?
Yeah, I think it does.
Okay.
I think whoever's at home wins.
Right now, Ravens and Chiefs play. Who wins?
Probably the Chiefs.
You think they beat the
I
Ravens?
think so. I hate them. That's why they win.
Okay.
Is Taylor Swift there? Yes or no?
But see, right now, I truly think it's between the Bills and the Ravens. But then if you go in the NFC, I think the Lions, Eagles, Vikings, even and the Packers all have a really good shot. The Bucks depends on what Baker shows up. Baker that was in the first half against the Chargers when they're losing, or Baker in the second half against the Chargers who looked
and
awesome.
Mike Evans just went off.
Yeah.
Here's the Minnesota, great season. Sam Darnold in the playoffs scares me, even though I know he shouldn't, because I didn't have confidence in him for the regular season, but he's proved that to be wrong. Sam Darnold in the playoffs, you trust him?
Do I trust Sam Darnold, period? No.
No, but I trust Justin Jefferson.
And Addison is playing pretty darn well.
So,
and Aaron Jones has been decent for him too.
With the Lions being as beat up as they are on defense,
I know that's the thing that stinks for them.
I might change my pick to the Eagles for being NFC because, man, that Lions defense is. They lost, 2 guys last night again?
McNeil. They have, but they can score with anybody.
Forget about their offense.
And that's the thing. They're going to put so much pressure on you.
They lost Montgomery, but who else they got back
you
there?
Think about that. The Bills played almost perfect and won by 6.
Right. Had to get an onside kick recovery. Otherwise,
right.
Detroit might have beat them. I like the Eagles right now. They're playing really well. I just don't know if I trust Sam Darnold. We'll see about Jordan Love, maybe. But Seattle, who knows? I mean, who knows?
But see, right now, if the playoffs ended, the Lions would have the bye. The Eagles would host the Commanders. The Buccaneers would host the Packers, and the Rams would host the Vikings. So I think
the Rams can beat the Vikings, but I don't think
they do. And I think the Packers beat the Bucks.
Probably, yeah. Yes.
Packers have looked good. Josh Jacobs playing outstanding has got to just drive you insane.
Right.
By the way, too, did you watch any of the game last night?
Mm-mm.
They're talking about at one point, they're like, Josh Jacobs is talking about how he finally loves playing football again.
Oh, my gosh. I don't want to hear that.
He's having the most fun he's ever had since college.
I trust the Packers.
What team was he on before the Packers?
The Raiders, I know. We know this. Although, look at Tampa Bay last year against the Eagles that they beat in the playoffs? But the Eagles were that was a different Eagles.
That was in the free fall of
that was
unbelievable. It was one of the worst tank jobs I've ever seen in my life.
That was bad.
Do you think Nick Sirianni is out if they don't win the Super Bowl?
If they don't win the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Man.
Because even though they've been this good, there just seems to be something up with him all the time.
Think like they're missing something, or
I don't know. Like he almost got in a fight with a coach or a player on the sideline last night.
He always has something.
And he's always yelling at the fans.
That's right. He was yelling.
Like, get out of here.
Maybe he needs to take some anger management classes.
Yeah.
If I'm the owner, hey, listen, good job. We're playing well. Go take some anger management classes because you obviously have some issues. Like you got 2 losses out of the year. Be happy with that. You're gonna go in the.
I'm telling you what. If the Eagles had a stud quarterback, they'd be unstoppable.
So you're saying Hurts is not a stud.
Correct.
So you're saying if they had a Josh Allen,
correct,
Jared Goff,
yes,
forget about it.
Yes,
with that defense, I mean their defense is pretty.
And good. Saquon Barkley,
yeah, he's pretty good.
Listen, I know the Lions have some really good receivers too, but I mean the Eagles have AJ Brown and Devonta Smith.
That's tough to beat right there.
It's pretty good.
That's really good.
I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown is really good. Williams is
Jameson
good, and this Frederick guy, whatever, is playing really well.
Yeah,
and Laporta, but
Laporta,
huh?
Laporta's
yeah.
Good. Well, who are the Eagles tight end?
Goddard.
That's right. See. They're like really similar teams.
Very similar.
Except the defense.
Except the quarterback.
And the quarterback.
Jared Goff is much better than...
still don't trust Hurts.
Correct. Do you?
No, but yes. He has shown he can get it done. I mean, but then he's shown that he's awful too at times.
He's shown it for one full season. He's had flashes this year.
But it's just flashes, yeah. But Saquon Barkley being healthy, that helps a little bit too. So...
Yeah.
So you don't trust the Eagles going into the playoffs a whole lot?
I don't.
Okay.
Well, Barkley, yes, but
run the ball.
Can you stop Barkley?
Yeah.
And if you can, I think it's
trouble.
A big part.
Yeah.
But their defense is good too. So, but
they're a good team. Detroit defense problems. Minnesota, Sam Darnold. Like everyone has like a question mark.
Right. Sam Darnold's only a few seasons removed from seeing ghosts.
Correct. But now his ghosts are in the form of Justin Jefferson. So it's like,
and like I said, Addison is playing really, really well.
And that helps Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Like if you got another guy that could take some heat off you.
Like last game the Bears played, they held Justin Jefferson down, but Addison ripped him up.
Well, see, that's what you have to have. yeah, you shut down Justin Jefferson and someone else tears you up. I mean, pick your poison then at that point.
Right.
Just don't let Sam Darnold beat you. He's not. He's just throwing it to dudes that do beat you. But I think everyone has a kind of a question mark around him.
Correct.
So it's like, who? Seattle, the Rams. Like, I don't trust those two teams at all.
You don't trust Geno Smith with the Seattle Seahawks?
No, absolutely not.
Dude, last night, literally, he almost throws an interception. And the announcers were like, he's had a tendency to throw interceptions in the red zone. The very next pass, he just throws it up and he gets picked. I'm like, you couldn't have called it any better than that. Like, I don't know.
But Baker Mayfield, hot and cold.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of it's quarterback play, but I think Detroit quarterback play and maybe Green Bay have the two most stable quarterbacks probably in the playoffs.
Correct.
That, like, if you had to pick some, you take them. But everybody else is kind of, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see Sam Darnold come out in a playoff. If he's at home, might have a better shot.
I do, but I don't. I mean, he's not going to get a home playoff.
He's got the Rams.
Right now, unless they jump the Lions, they don't have a home playoff game, which they still have to play Lions again, so they have a chance.
They're only, a game out?
Well, if they win tonight against the Bears, they'll be tied.
They'll be tied.
Yeah. All right. The NFL is kind of cooking up. We got college football starting this week. And I know we talk football, but on Wednesday night, 2 days from now,
okay,
your Oklahoma Sooners in basketball are undefeated, and they take on my Michigan Wolverines.
I did see
that. And then Jumpman Classic in North Carolina.
All right.
A little basketball.
It's getting to that point where football's ending. Now we're going to basketball season. So that's going to be a good one. How's Michigan doing this year?
They played really well, but they just played Arkansas last week, and John Calipari went there, and they beat them. They lost to Arkansas by 2. They had 2 losses. They lost to Arkansas.
But they're not a bad team.
No, they're a good team. I think it's going to be a really good game. Oklahoma's played really well. They're undefeated. I mean, they're ranked, I think, like 10th, and Michigan's ranked like 24th.
Okay.
And the women play too.
Wednesday night. Okay.
Wednesday night.
And the women play.
Yeah, 9 o'clock. That might be a little. Can you stay up for that?
Maybe make it through half. I've been following college volleyball.
Yeah.
They're down to the Final Four. So, my daughters both played. So.
Correct. They both play. I got a question for you. Watching college volleyball, even the women's side, would you want to get in front of one of those girls?
No, absolutely not. There's some girls out there that can really put it down.
Yeah.
Like Wisconsin's got a 6'9" girl out there, like just towers, and
they got beat. They got beat by
Nebraska.
Nebraska.
They get beat. They stay away from her. They stay away from that girl. But there's some strong girls out there that can hit the ball. Actually, one of the Nebraska girls did get hit in the face, the setter, and I was like, "Ooh, that was rough."
Yeah.
There's some girls.
Those girls are huge.
There's some girls that can
like
jump
just
too.
Tall and just.
There's some girls that can jump out of the gym. I think Nebraska's got like a 5'8" girl hitting it, but she's.
I want to. Where do those girls go to high school? Because I never saw one of those.
That's what I'm saying.
Like tall girls like
those
that.
girls
You know
in high school?
No. I mean,
unbelievable.
Because those girls you didn't recruit, they're like 6. What's the tallest girl on Nebraska?
I think they got a 6'5" girl.
Okay, 6'5". She wasn't 6 foot in high school. Like she didn't grow 5 inches in college. She was probably 6'3", 6'4" in high school.
Yeah. So
if you roll up to play her in high school, what are you thinking?
So the high school that I worked at when I was in Nebraska had 3 girls that went to Nebraska. One of them was one of the assistant coaches, and they were 2 6'2" girls, and they were 6'2", 6'3", and they were twins.
Yeah.
And they ended up going to Nebraska and winning a national title. So that high school team was ridiculous. They didn't lose.
I can't
lose for 3 years.
I mean, your daughter plays volleyball at high school right now, and you don't see any of those girls, do you?
No, there's no girls.
Where are they?
I don't know.
In Nebraska.
They're in Nebraska. They're in Penn State. They're in Texas, and they're in the Pittsburgh. Apparently has these girls.
Midwest school.
They're in the Big Ten. That's where they're at. That's where
they're absolutely ridiculous. Like I'm looking at them. I'm like, I barely saw those guys in basketball when I played in Indiana.
Right.
You know, and, I mean, I did see them, but not very much. And these girls are playing volleyball. I mean, obviously, they probably play basketball too.
They're on the Midwest, probably.
It's ridiculous.
Or California.
They hit the ball so hard.
That's crazy. And the blocks and like just they're fast.
I don't think I could hit the ball that hard on a 5-foot net.
No, well, I can't jump that high. Well, definitely not that tall. 5-foot net. Shoot, I'm barely taller than that.
Yeah, you are a little short. So, anyways, it's just fun. This is a great time of year because, like I said,
so much
we got the tournaments. We got like even Division II and FCS. By the way, FCS playoffs? I was looking at this. The Final Four is South Dakota State, North Dakota State, and Montana State. Why is the upper Northwest, not Northwest, but mid-North, so good in the FCS?
They're freezing up there.
Is it because they don't have any FBS
So
schools up there,
cold.
so they get all the really good players that don't really want to leave? You think
Is
that's
it-
what
is that
it
what it is?
I don't know. I'm asking.
I don't know. That's weird.
They got some good teams, and they compete well against FBS. I mean, they're not going to go beat like
No.
Bama or anything like that,
No.
but they beat.
They compete.
They can compete. Yeah,
Like North Dakota State and stuff like
yeah.
that.
Those
South
teams,
Dakota
yeah, they're good.
State. I don't know because it's cold up there.
It is cold.
Awful up
But
there.
this North Dakota State has the Fargo Dome. They play in Fargo, North Dakota, and it gets loud. I heard it gets loud. It's kind of
Yeah, I
small.
bet.
It gets loud.
Probably echoes in there.
Yeah,
Crazy. And Fargo's cold.
all those places are cold.
Awful cold.
I mean, I think when they have a game there, it's like half the population of the state is in those places.
Right.
There's just not many people
because it's
there.
warm in there.
Yeah. But
no, there's no people.
yeah,
Exactly.
it's just
That's interesting. I
Yeah.
don't know that North and South Dakota are the FCS capital.
and
of the world.
Montana's pretty good
It's
too.
really strange.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I knew that North Dakota had a couple of good
And
teams.
one of them beat Idaho in the semifinals. Idaho used to be
What is
an
going on up
FBS
there?
I don't know.
Central Northeast.
Yeah,
Northwest.
it's got to be a little bit because there's not an FBS school up there,
Possibly.
and so that maybe it's the kids that just don't want to leave and they just stay there.
Right.
They got to.
Sounds like
they can recruit their state.
Sounds like Nebraska needs to recruit some North Dakota players or something. Maybe you might make a bowl more than once every 8 years.
Hey, they're going to a bowl this year.
Yeah, that's the first time in 8 years, the longest streak by any Power 4 team, I think, that haven't been to a bowl in like 7 or 8 years. So,
Hey, speaking of teams that haven't won in a while, at least as bad as your Raiders are, you can say that you've won a playoff game in the last 20 years because the Miami Dolphins have not, and they're not going to the playoffs again. Well, they're not mathematically,
probably
in the league,
are,
but they're probably
right.
not going.
they needed a win yesterday.
Yeah, and they
to-
did it.
to-
Tua decided to
I
throw
didn't
three
realize it's been
interceptions.
that long for
Yeah, it's been over 2 decades
Wow.
that the Dolphins have won a playoff game. I mean,
just,
last
just
year,
won a playoff game.
Yeah, just one. They went to the playoffs last year. Remember, they played that like negative 37
that's
degrees
right.
in Kansas City.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, Raiders were in a Super Bowl 22 years ago.
They should have been in another one, but they blew that one against the Patriots.
Stop it. I don't want to talk about it.
Started the Patriots dynasty.
It's because your boys from Michigan got together, conspired against my Raiders. Charles Woodson and Tom Brady conspired against a sticker that I'm looking at, Michigan Wolverines.
That says national champions.
It doesn't. That sticker's already worn out.
It's worn a little bit. This season has taken its toll.
The season beat up
But-
the sticker too.
But Michigan still beat Ohio State.
Listen, that's got to help your season. 100%.
100%.
If you could beat Bama in the bowl, that would help too.
Especially considering we're not playing like half our guys.
And Milrose playing. So
Oh, he is playing?
He said he's playing.
Of course he is.
So you're going
The
to get
SEC
you're
always
gonna
does
get
that.
your guy.
The
You're gonna get your
SEC.
guy.
Here's what's
you
going to happen.
talked about this.
Here's
You
what's going
talked
to
about
happen.
this.
Michigan's not going to play hardly anybody. Bama's going to win. I hope they don't, but Bama's going to win. Milrose's going to go off or something like that, and the SEC people are going to be like, "See, we
Big
told you
Ted's
so.
awful.
We
blah,
told
blah,
you
yeah.
so."
Yeah, Milrose playing.
You beat a 7-5 team that's not playing like any of their top drops.
Yeah,
Like I don't think Mason Graham's playing.
Mullins playing.
Will Johnson is not playing.
Definitely he hasn't played at all.
Donovan Edwards is not playing. If we beat Alabama, it'd be the funniest thing ever.
Milrose playing. Watch
Good.
out.
Good. Probably their receiver too will play.
Probably.
And then they'll be like, this would be like Georgia last year against Florida State when Florida State threw out a JV team. Georgia beat them like 70-0. They're like, see,
Yeah.
told you.
Georgia had like
Get out of here.
6 guys
Stop
not
it.
play. And,
Right.
and they had 22. Florida State had like 22 guys not play.
Stop it. Get out of
Classic
here.
SEC, although I got to try to like them a little bit.
You don't.
I have to try to
You
like
don't
the
have
SEC.
to like 'em.
Oklahoma's in there. I got to kind of back it up. No? I don't have to be a fan of my conference, just my team. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
The only reason right now I'm rooting for any sort of Big Ten teams is because the SEC bias and that stuff has just been so much
It's bad.
that I'm like, I don't want to hear it anymore.
You're going to regret this 12-team
If
playoff.
the
when we get a bunch of
Pac-12
SEC teams
was in there still, I'd be like, yeah, the Pac-12. Like, I'd be okay with Clemson winning,
I don't have a problem with Clemson winning.
SMU winning.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Notre Dame.
Yeah, let's not get crazy.
Okay.
Let's not get crazy. I still don't like Notre Dame.
So you know,
They're playing very well. I just don't like them.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Yeah, no, probably not. Probably not. Texas, definitely not. Get out. Ohio State, no.
Yeah, both Texas and Ohio State get out right away.
Oregon, okay.
And it's funny because those are the two upsets we picked.
Exactly.
Texas and yes, that'd be perfect.
Clemson wins. Tennessee wins. Our rivals,
I don't care what
our
the other two
rivals
games
are
are.
out. Our
I don't
rivals
care
are
what
out.
the other two games are.
If Notre Dame loses to Georgia or whoever, then we're pretty much just no SEC.
Yeah, but
You don't want
this is
SEC. You
crazy.
don't want Georgia to
I
win
actually
either.
want Notre Dame to beat Georgia. I mean, I want Notre Dame or Indiana to beat Georgia.
Yeah, so you want Notre Dame over an SEC team.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
The only SEC team I'm cool with winning is Tennessee because I lived there for a little bit. I went to a game. I'm not a SEC. I'm not a Tennessee fan,
I
but
can
like
deal with that.
they have been the less SEC of the SEC teams
Fair
if
enough.
that makes sense.
No, they're not Bama. They're not Georgia. They're not
like
Ole
even
Miss,
like Ole Miss or like Auburn or
yeah.
LSU. Like,
Yes,
like
there
it's
you
just like so. I'm okay with that.
Okay, Tennessee. So we're rooting for Tennessee.
We root for Tennessee.
Go Josh Heupel.
Yeah. See, you got some ties.
I got ties.
There we go. We got ties.
All right, Tennessee
everywhere.
it is.
Tennessee. I've went to a game.
You had a great time at the game.
I did. It was an Oklahoma. We talked about this.
Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield's coming up.
That's right.
All right, we'll come back next week. We'll talk about the first round games. We'll get into our picks for this quarterfinals, and then maybe we'll break down some NFL and maybe some transfer portal news if there's some big stuff. There's probably
stuff going on every day.
All right, we'll come back next week, and until then, I'm Adam.
I'm Tony. Thanks for listening.